Hi, I'm Kristen Denny-Chambers, clarinetist, composer, and founder of Clarinet Playground. This is video number 9 out of 40, going through all of the etudes in Finger Fitness Études Book 2, with some tips and tricks as you go along. This one is Prairie Song. Prairie Song is dedicated to Abigail Baldwin. Abby was a student of mine during her senior year of high school, and she has recently just completed her first year of college at NSU, studying with Ann Watson. Once she completes her degree at NSU, Abby plans to attend law school to pursue criminal law. She hopes to one day be a district or state attorney, maybe even become a government attorney if possible. Even though there are more than 20 years of a difference in the age between Abby and I, we both grew up watching Little House on the Prairie, and we really loved it. Abby remembers that her dad owned every season of the Waltons too, and they would watch the Waltons and Little House on the Prairie as a family. Abby says this etude reminds her of her childhood, and it is so incredibly cool to be able to play a song that brings back such good memories. Let's take a look at the music. At the bottom of each etude in this book, you'll find one or two little practice tips. For Prairie Song, we have used the tenutos as a guide to help plan the rubato pacing, but feel free to change them for your own interpretation. Also, there's a tricky trill, so we're going to be using the trill fingering for B flat when playing A flat to B flat and back to A flat, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Additionally, at the top of each etude, you'll find 2 finger drills. These are very important. You want to practice them very slowly, very meticulously, maybe try some altered rhythms, because these are the drills that are folded directly into the music. This is a relatively simple move, but it's also very critical that your fingers move in conjunction so that you avoid any kind of scale or extra notes in between. I like to think about using lead fingers. So when I'm playing from C to F, I'm lifting 3 fingers, and if I accidentally lift them this way, I'm going to get some extra notes in between. But if I have a lead finger, in this case, that first finger, your pointer finger on your left hand, if you think about that when lifting first, then you're going to be better off. Now, of course, you're not literally going to do that, but you want to just think about it. And then if you lead with that finger, you're more likely to have a clean connection. Same thing when you add the register key and you're playing from G to the high C. Just really use that lead finger to have a good connection. The style and character of Prairie Song is very slow and expansive with rubato. Rubato is definitely encouraged. We want to speed things up and pull things back and have a lot of freedom with that. If you treat it like an aria regarding the pacing and your expressive freedom, that'll really help guide your choices. Just do how a singer might do it. Something else I do is I'll subdivide for rhythmic precision, but also for my rubato plan. It's surprising if you will subdivide everything in 16th notes, you'll start to feel where you're wanting things to push forward and where you're wanting things to pull back. And subdividing in the 16th notes really helps you discover the natural plan that works for that. And then in general, just aim for very long phrases with a long trajectory. And even though these phrases are long, feel free to add dynamic inflections on the micro level. So you might have little inflections going up and down within these large crescendo and decrescendo figures. And then the last thing is smooth legato is required at all times. Work to play as smoothly and evenly as you can. Here's the opening. Let's take a look at the rhythm. So there are some dotted 8/16ths all throughout the etude. I like to subdivide that to make sure my rhythm is very precise, and it also helps with your rubato, as I mentioned before. There are a lot of 16th notes, running 16th notes that are constant, also in combinations, like you'll see 2/16ths and an 8th, or an 8th and 2/16ths. The 8th and 2/16ths is more common, but in measure 25 you see that flipped, and that might catch you off guard, so make sure you look ahead for that one. I'll play these first 2 examples for you. Additionally, you'll run into some ties. There are 3 of them in measures 9, 27, and 28. They're all at the beginning of the measure, so if you think about articulating beat 2 or subdividing, that can really help to make sure you're precise with it. I'll play these 3 and I will subdivide first and then play it as written. The one in measure 28 is a little trickier because you have the molto rallentando. So subdivide and slow down your subdivision to allow for that. You're also going to run into some 30-second notes that are mainly decorative. So take your time. There's no rush on them. We want them to sound like they still fit the character of the piece. They can be stretched a little bit. So keep that in mind. We have them in 9, 21, 26, and 27. And for our purposes, we're just going to take a look at measures 9 and 27 because the other ones are very similar. So in measure 9, we have the dotted eighth and then the 2 30-second notes. You can subdivide 30-second notes if you want, if your tongue is quick enough and you can handle that. Or you can think of subdividing 16th notes and just know that the 30-second notes are going to happen on the 4th 16th note subdivision of that. I'll play it with the 32nd note subdivision, the 16th note subdivision, and then as it's written. Finally, we'll take a look at 27, where we have the 32nd notes appearing a little differently. So now we're on beat 4. We have the F 16th note, followed by the 2 32nd notes, and then 2 16th notes. So that really fast rhythmic activity is all happening on the second subdivision of the 16th notes. So again, I'll subdivide with 32nd notes, 16ths, and then just play as written. Now we'll get into some areas for focus. In measures 11 through 12, we've got some big leaps from E flat down to low G. So we want to really make sure we're well coordinated there with our side E flat fingering and coming back down to the low G. So in this instance, we're playing E flat here on the side and then letting go of that side key while covering everything to land on that low G. Now, there is the 1/1 fingering for E flat, but in this context, I would definitely do your side key, because when we're going from D before the E flat and then going to a 1/1 and then down to G, that can cause its own problems. And I generally shy away from the 1/1 fingering in something slow and exposed like this. I will use it more often in a really fast passage where it can be hidden well. The intonation on a 1/1 is often different, and even the tone and the timbre can be different too. If we take a look at the middle section of the etude, here we're climbing into the upper part of the clarion register. So we're going to have some high C's, and we're in that upper left hand of the clarinet with the register key pushed. So we want to really aim for a sweet and gentle, delicate sound up there. It can be really easy for those high C's to pop out. So work on balancing your volume. Play really strong on the G's before the high C's, and then have that good support, and then just let the high C's melt out. Next in measure 16, we have that awkward trill, A flat to B flat. Now, if we were really going to do the standard fingerings for that, A flat over here and then B flat over here, that is incredibly awkward and very hard to coordinate. But the trick fingering is we hold A flat and then you just lift your first finger and you come right back down. So that's A flat, B flat, A flat. It's a wonderful trill fingering. It has a little bit of resistance to it, but if you blow through and you've got your voicings just right, it'll come through very nicely. Next, notice how measure 19 is a variation on the main theme. Basically, I've added all these 16th note decorations within the theme. So there are some tenutos in there to help guide where you can hear where the original tune is. But really just make sure you're listening and you can hear that original tune within the 16th notes when you play them. Finally, measure 25. I've played this measure before, but it was when we were looking at the rhythm. But now we're going to look at the voicing. There are some really big jumps here. And when we have to go from that lower range up into the upper clarion, like G's and A's, sometimes they'll want to grunt or squeak on us if the voicing is just a little bit off. So something that you can do is work on just the high notes first. And then when you throw in the low notes, try playing the low notes quickly so you can go right back to the high notes and remember that voicing. And then you can play the rhythms as they're written. And now for some final thoughts on this etude. Imagine a wide open field or a prairie, just vast and free, or even just think about the theme of Little House on the Prairie, and that'll put you into the right mode. As we mentioned before, focus on long and well-connected phrasing with a beautiful legato. Approach the music the way a vocalist would sing it. And then balance your volume. Work for clean connections in any of the large leaps, and balancing that volume where you've got good intensity of air in the low notes and nice and sweet in the upper notes. Learn very steadily to ensure precise rhythm, and then let go and have fun experimenting with the rubato. And Abby says, it's a great piece to play around with tempo and speed, so have some fun with it. To listen to a beautiful recording of this etude and all other etudes from this book, head over to my website, clarinetplayground.com. Trevor Stewart has recorded all 40 etudes beautifully, and they are available for purchase there on my website. Feel free to join us in the Clarinet Playground group on Facebook where we play and post for each other. And head over to my website at clarinetplayground.com for more fun music and books. Thank you so much. Where you'll see 2 8s followed by the 16. Oh man, I gotta do that again. Okay, rhythm.